I'm going to call this meeting to order for Polk County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. Last day. Woo-hoo, we made it. All commissioners are present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okie dokie. Next item is for comments for items not on the agenda. Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, I'm going to move on for approval of the agenda.
Also move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously. Approval of the consent calendar.
Move approval?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Approval of minutes of December 24th.
Also move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, passed unanimously. All city letter of support request. City Manager AJ Foscale, please come forward. See, I did your whole intro for you, identified you. You're set to go.
Super efficient. Thank you, Board Chair, and thank you, Board of Commissioners. I come here today to ask for a letter of support for the Oregon Legislative Water Caucus needs assessment for water infrastructure projects around the state. The ask was made was put out by the League of Oregon Cities late November, and they had actually a December 15th deadline, but they've extended it to January 15th. The project that the Fall City would like to focus on is a project that's been on the Water Master Plan for quite a while. It's the Dayton Street pedestrian bridge. Up till 1960, it was actually a vehicle traffic bridge, but because of its age and relative instability, it was actually turned into a pedestrian bridge in about 1965. And it's been that way since. In the 4 years that I've been in Fall City, I've actually seen it deteriorate, which is alarming. With 4 years, it's starting to canter and lean a little bit too much. So we've actually secured funds from a separate water grant to do a seismic analysis, and we will be doing that coming in January. So we'll know exactly what kind of project that we're looking at. Is it going to be a replacement project? Is it going to be a repair project? Somewhere between $500,000 to $1.5 million, depending on what the actual outcome of the analysis, the seismic analysis is. We're not asking for any money. We're just asking for a letter of support to submit with the package that the Oregon Legislative Water Caucus is asking.
So the 500,000 or the 1.2 million, is that to do the project or is that to do the study and design?
No, that's the entire project. If it's just a repair, it will be relatively simple. It'll just be shoring up the supports that we have in place and fixing the structure as it stands. If it is a full replacement, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, obviously, but it is a pedestrian bridge. We're not talking about vehicle traffic. It doesn't need to carry a lot of weight. It's really only to carry the water and wastewater pipes that are underneath the pedestrian bridge.
So your estimated value, again, you had it in the letter template of 500 to 1.5.
Yes.
That's a big range.
Yes.
For essentially an analysis. I mean, if you're suggesting that 1.5 could be the complete project, including seismic analysis or intervention with a new bridge, seriously, $1.5 million?
Until we do the seismic analysis coming up in January, we won't know that actual number. Right now, all I can say is based on what I've asked my colleagues around the state. One particular bridge in Dayton was actually, and it started out at a 3.5 and ended up being a $6 million project. So I don't know what I don't know, and that's why the assessment that we're going to be doing in January is so important. We're going to have a third-party contractor who works for our engineering contractors who are very well reputed and have done these kind of assessments in the past before. So we can be sure that their numbers are going to be a lot better than my numbers.
You know, so where my challenge is, and we've briefly discussed this before and then decided we better have you come forward and
Yes.
so we can talk about this. My concerns are that we don't have an engineering study. We don't have anything laid out that says, here's what we propose to build or repair. We're talking about going to a legislative caucus for an ask that is very competitive, as you know.
Yes.
There are going to be way more asks for that caucus than they can possibly get Ways and Means to agree to.
Yes.
So I'm going to make certain that we're prioritizing. That's my position. I know it should be yours, that we're prioritizing what we know are essential kinds of things. And it feels like we're getting out ahead of our skis a little bit. Personally, that's how I feel about it, because I don't see anything. I don't know the numbers. And so we're just asking, not to be derogatory, but it's like, please, please, please let us have money. And I don't really understand what we're asking them for the money for. The numbers seem awfully vague, and I'd like us to narrow that down. So otherwise, I don't know what you're asking the Water Caucus to do for you.
Sure. I mean, right now, through the application process, there's a lot of questions that are being asked about, you know, how ready are you to pull the trigger on this? You know, how important is this to you, to your city as a whole? The south side of Falls City is really dependent on services that depend on that bridge. So if that bridge, in case of emergency, let's say a flood or earthquake, if it were to go down, the south side of town would lose a lot of water pressure, possibly water service, and definitely sewer service. So it is a critical piece of our infrastructure that we want to address. And had the timing been better, we would have done the analysis for the bridge ahead of this. But it was such a quick turnaround that our scheduling for that survey was being done as these numbers, as this opportunity to submit information was put out. Had I had more control over it, we would have gotten the assessment done in December, and November, December, we'd have had those numbers ahead of time to include in our application, so to speak.
So depending on the needs, AJ, what the seismic analysis comes up with, there would likely be a subsequent stage of design. And would it make more sense at this stage to make an ask for the sort of the design phase? But obviously that's contingent on the results of the seismic. But I do remember coming across an engineering analysis of the integrity of that bridge that was done, I believe, in the 90s or early aughts. I just read red flags. Right. So obviously I know there's a need there. There are structural issues.
Yes.
And that bridge was washed out at one point in time. So it's not only the seismic risk, it's the risk of that raging river that is currently raging. So I have no doubt that there will be a need to do significant work on that bridge, but I'm curious if the stage that you are currently in would be more design based on the results of the seismic study. I think that there's a lot of unknowns for a total, through construction.
Correct. Once again, whether I've not gone through this, the Oregon Legislative Water Caucus needs assessment process before.
I don't think anyone else.
Okay, so I'm
a new mysterious box.
So, being that we have a very small tax base, we are always dependent on grant opportunities. Whenever they come by, I always do the best for our community to submit the best numbers that I have available to me and to try to grab as much money as possible, because these kinds of projects are impossible for the city to fund on their own. Once again, those numbers are based on conversation that I've had with my colleagues, some of the documentation that we have in place. 1960 was some of the documents that you're alluding to. There's also 2017, the Water Master Plan. And most recently, when we did the facilities plan, which actually the Board of Commissioners supported financially. It was outlined as part of the expansion project. So right now, we only have 1/3 of the city under the wastewater system. If we were to include the entirety of the city, we would definitely, that is one of the key components, because the entire south of town would go under the same wastewater system, as opposed to about 30 properties at the moment. So we do have a general idea, but we don't have the actual numbers that we could submit. I could certainly increase that number to say it's a $2.5 million project, $3 million project. I don't know, unfortunately, and right now I feel like
Requires a monetary ask.
correct, yeah,
JJ, what's the distance that bridge spans?
162 feet.
Okay. Just 1.5 million or 1.2 million sounds really low for that distance, because I knew that was quite a ways we can talk about as well. And if you get 1.2 million, but you get your final decision and it goes to 2.2 or 2.5, then now you only got half the money to do it. That's kind of where I was thinking right now, I'd be wise to ask for design money and then the next round, ask for the money to replace it. And it puts you farther out, and I haven't looked at the bridge, so I guess you know that better than we do. How long it's gonna stand there. But I guess you'll know more once you get your study completed. It's my point is you're kind of, we're putting it through because it's new opportunity, but we don't really have all the facts yet.
Correct, that is true.
But can you fix it? If you get one, can you go down and ask again?
So, for example, for the current project that we're undertaking for the wastewater facility replacement, we had some funds on the front end for the design, and then we went back out again. But that second ask was very, very challenging, and we almost didn't get it, if not for the help of the state. Actually, Representative Anna Scharf was instrumental in helping the city get that final gap funding. I lean toward asking for the entire amount just from the get-go, and it sounds to me like my ask was too low. I'm always worried about asking for too much and then getting turned down. I'd rather ask for a little bit less and get it, and then work and hope that is enough. Because I would rather have $1.5 million in the pocket and get most of the project definitely designed and possibly potentially even partly funded than asking for something that's lower or something that's higher and then not get any money at all, and then we're back to square one. So it's a bit of a gamble. You're playing with a lot of unknowns, both from the technical side, but also what is the legislative body going to do? Are they going to bless this project? For me, I want to try to maximize the odds that they will bless it, and that way we're at least closer than we are today.
But I have no doubt that this is an existential need in the city. I mean, at a fundamental level. And it caused me a lot of anxiety when I was in city government. But I'm curious if the letter could be augmented a little bit to include a little more detail in the staged ask. Maybe this is what I would, estimate for a design and then estimate for construction.
Absolutely.
If I'm on that caucus, I might be wondering the same. I might be having the same questions that we're having.
That is great advice. I can definitely amend the letter to reflect that. I appreciate all of your input in helping me in this process. Just like you said, this is a new process, and we are doing the best that we can.
Well, and I appreciate Commissioner Gordon's ask in that regard. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And of course, I work in this space with legislators for water needs and for the Association of Oregon Counties. And if I'm going to pitch the lobby for this, I need the talking points. I need the details to close the deal. I don't have those at this point. I don't fully understand what the ask is for. I also don't understand the term application here. And again, because you're not, I don't understand it. So is this an application with the Water Resource Department?
The Oregon, the Legislative Caucus has an online form which looks very much like an application, and at the end of it, it has sections for additional documentation, which includes the support letters. So for all intents and purposes, it's an application to say, this is our project. Please compare it vis-a-vis all the other projects.
Okay. And in all honesty, some of that process is intended to show the legislature and the governor's office what the needs across the state really look like.
Absolutely.
And this is part of their way of getting to that.
Correct.
And so clearly there's going to be a mountain of projects here with asks that are way beyond anything that's been dedicated to Water Resources Department. And again, I appreciate that the two co-chairs at the Water Resources Committee, who head up this caucus are, very serious about doing this stuff. I want to be serious with them, but I need to have, as Jeremy's suggesting, if we had an outline of here's the need, here's why this is critical, here's our steps that for Fall City, here's our steps that we would like to implement, here's why we need this help. And we're not asking for the whole thing today, but we do need help at least to get through first phase planning and engineering. I would support that. I think that makes sense as a letter of support from us. But right now it's so vague that I feel like we sign a letter of support and then we look a bit foolish when we get in front of legislators and want to help pitch for this.
That would be great. A letter of support for that initial phase would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree.
Sorry to put you through it.
Perhaps the two of you could conspire on a revised letter, if you're
Happy
willing.
to do it. Yeah.
I will definitely redraft the letter and send it on to Commissioner.
We'll just be thinking about, as was suggested, a phased process and what's going to sell to legislators. All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, AJ.
Mr. Hanson, you're next. Budget calendar.
Chair, members of the board, what you have to do is look over the budget calendar, make sure everyone is all right with the dates. The critical dates in this calendar are the compensation committee meeting on February 25th. That does not involve the three of you. It involves the three lay members of the county. Then the initial budget hearings for April 22nd through the 24th. We will probably only do 2 of those 3 days, but we're blocking out those 3 days, making sure which of those 2 days work the best in that group. Then, as you know, in our process, we tentatively approve everything in our budget hearings, and then we have a final budget hearing scheduled for May 21st. And then after formal approval of the budget and setting of the tax rate, then we have the adoption of the 25-26 budget, so we can operate past June 30th of 2025. So those are the critical dates, making sure we've checked with the 3 lay members of the budget committee and those all work for them, making sure they all work for you. And then if you're okay with the budget calendar, the other piece of business you have to do is appoint the budget officer for the upcoming budget sessions. So, and I know Caitlin's vying for it right now, but I'll put my name in the hat too. So your choice.
Appreciate that.
Silent ballot.
Yeah.
If Caitlin wants to fight for it. I mean,
Kind of change something that's working.
You're right. I tend to go that way too.
You are very involved in the process regardless.
More involved each year.
Yes, I have kind of whittled my way into Greg's, regardless of whether that's been with open arms or not, I kind of just show up in there.
I think that's good.
I make a move that we make Mr. Greg Hanson our budget officer for the 25-26 budget.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously.
I'll move to accept the budget calendar as presented for fiscal year 25-26.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept the budget calendar as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Okay, that gets that part done. Now Board of Commissioners Chair selection for 2025. So we've had a very brief discussion about this. am currently serving as chair, happy to step back, but understand that there's a potential that if you want me to, I could do it again for 2025. Happy to do that if that's what my peers choose to do.
And make that motion.
Okay, I'll second.
That was quick and easy. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Do we have non-listed items?
Sir.
Have none. Okay. Seeing nothing further, we are adjourned.
The May 21st is the budget